Avery Johnson, the little general. He was never supposed to be the hero. Undrafted, undersized, overlooked. At 5 feet 10 inches tall, he was shorter than most point guards in the NBA. He was faster than most, smarter than most, tougher than most. But he did not look the part. He did not fit the mold. He was not the kind of player that scouts get excited about. He was not the kind of player that teams build their franchises around. But when the dynasty needed its first signature moment, when the stakes were highest, when everything was on the line, the smallest man on the floor delivered the biggest shot. Avery Johnson did not just win a championship. He helped start an era. He helped begin a dynasty that would dominate the sport for nearly 2 decades. This is the story of a man who was told he was too small, too overlooked, too insignificant, and who responded by becoming essential. Avery DeWitt Johnson was born on March 25, 1965, in New Orleans, Louisiana, a city known for jazz, culture, resilience, and fighting through adversity. He was raised in an environment that demanded toughness. He was raised around people who refused to accept limitations. At 5 feet 10 inches tall, he was already smaller than the average NBA point guard would be. But at St. Augustine High School, size was never the issue. Leadership was the story. Competence was the narrative. Johnson led his team to a perfect 35-0 season. Undefeated, untouchable. His high school team won a state championship. After high school, Avery Johnson took an unconventional path. He did not go directly to a major college basketball program. He went to junior college. He was overlooked. He was underestimated. He was a player that the big-time programs did not recruit heavily. But what he lacked in pedigree, he made up for in determination. He made up for it in execution. He made up for it in understanding the game at a level that most young players do not reach until much later in their careers. When he finally landed at Southern University, everything changed. This is where Avery Johnson stopped being overlooked. This is where he started rewriting history. In just 2 seasons at Southern University, he set NCAA records that still stand to this day. 13.3 assists per game, the highest assist average in a single season in NCAA history. In 1988, the NBA draft took place. Avery Johnson waited. He watched his name not get called. He watched team after team pass on him. The first round came and went. The second round came and went. By the time the draft ended, Avery Johnson's name had never been announced. He was undrafted, but he was invisible to the league that claimed to have the best basketball players in the world. Most careers end in that moment. Most young athletes hear that message and they accept it. They accept that they are not good enough. They accept that the professionals knew better than they did. Avery Johnson accepted nothing. He chose to see it differently. He saw it as an opportunity. He saw it as a challenge. He saw it as motivation. What followed was a journey through the NBA that tested everything he had learned. Seattle, Denver, Houston, waived, signed, cut. 10-day contracts that became his entire existence for years. He was a journeyman in the truest sense of the word. He survived by intelligence, not by size. He survived by understanding the game better than anyone around him. Then, San Antonio saw him. The Spurs gave him structure. More than structure, they gave him purpose. They gave him a role. They gave him a coach in Gregg Popovich who understood what he could do. Johnson became the Little General. This was more than a nickname. This was an identity. This was recognition that he was the floor commander. He was the voice of calm. He was the leader when nobody else wanted to lead. His partnership with David Robinson anchored a culture that was built on discipline, on execution, on doing things the right way. The Spurs organization understood that size does not win championships. Systems win championships. Intelligence wins championships. And in Avery Johnson, they had found the perfect leader for their system. In 1999, the NBA Finals took place. Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls dynasty had just ended. The entire league was waiting to see what would happen next. Who would be the next power? Who would win the next championship? The San Antonio Spurs had assembled something special. They had built something different. Game 5 of the finals. The game was tied. The stakes could not have been higher. 47 seconds left on the clock. Avery Johnson rose up. He took his shot. A jumper from the left wing. Pure. The ball went through the net without touching the rim. Swish. The championship was clinched. San Antonio retired his number 6. A point guard once cut by the league, once told he was too small, once overlooked by everyone, now immortalized by the franchise. His jersey hanging in the arena. His number no longer worn by anyone else. That was recognition. That was respect. That was a franchise saying to the world, this man matters. This man is important. This man is part of our history. That retirement meant everything to Avery Johnson because it meant that all of those years, all of that struggle, all of that rejection had led to something meaningful. It had led to something permanent. After his playing career ended, Avery Johnson transitioned to coaching, and he was just as successful on the sideline as he had been on the court. In Dallas, he became Coach of the Year. He was the fastest coach to 50 wins in Mavericks history. He was the fastest coach to 100 wins in Mavericks history. He led the Mavericks to their first finals appearance in franchise history. The little general became a strategist. He became a builder. He became a coach who could take young players and turn them into winners. The 2006 finals was a moment of challenge for Avery Johnson, the coach. The Mavericks lost. It was painful. It was difficult. It was a loss that stung. But Johnson's coaching career proved the same lesson that his playing career had proven. Resilience beats doubt. Effort beats circumstance. Intelligence beats size. Belief beats skepticism. He had been told he was too small. He had proven that wrong. He had been cut by multiple teams. He had proven that those teams were wrong. He had lost a finals as a coach, but he had also won a finals as a player. He had proven that he belonged. He had proven that he mattered. When you study the career of Avery Johnson, you begin to understand something fundamental about success and about what it truly means to be a champion. Avery Johnson never looked like a champion. He did not have the physical tools that people associate with greatness. He did not have the height. He did not have the athleticism in the way that people typically define athleticism. He had something else. He had intelligence. He had resilience. He had the ability to look at a problem and solve it. He looked like a survivor. And survivors change history. Survivors make the shots that matter. Survivors lead teams to championships. Survivors inspire people around them to believe in themselves. Avery Johnson was a survivor. He survived rejection. He survived being overlooked. He survived being told he was too small. And in surviving all of that, he became one of the most important players in the history of the San Antonio Spurs franchise. He became a man who delivered the shot that started a dynasty. He became a coach who inspired young teams to believe they could compete with anyone. He became a legacy, a man who proved that size does not matter. Intelligence does. Work ethic does. Belief in yourself. does. This is the story of Avery Johnson, the little general. This is Humble Fire.